Surat Raj. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Friends, as today's topic is the new normal, challenges in the practice due to COVID. But the new normal, as we know, there is always positive side of everything. And positive side is that if we would have organized this session physically, then we may not be able to have Bhavna ma'am today with us at Surat. So due to this COVID situation, we are able to get Bhavna ma'am in today's session. Thank you so much, ma'am.
My
And
pleasure.
yeah, and I would request committee member Joni Jain to give brief introduction of Bhavna ma'am. Joni, over to you.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Meir Bhai, our past chairman and session coordinator. And it's an indeed a pleasure in introducing our today's speaker, CA Bhavna Doshi ji. He is partner of Bhavna Doshi and Associates LLP, an advisory firm with specialization in the field of taxation and corporate restructuring. She has been actively providing advisory services to national and multinational entities for
Yeah.
over 30 years. She qualified as chartered accountant and was ranked second at all India level at both intermediate and final CA examinations and was first among all lady candidates. She holds master degree in commerce from University of Mumbai. She serves as independent director on board of several listed companies. She was elected to the Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India for 4 terms of 3 years each. She chaired Accounting Standards Board Research Vision 2021, Professional Development and other committees of ICI. She was also a member of Group Supporting Tax Administration Reform Commission chaired by Dr. Parth Sarathi Shom. She has served as a member of the Government Accounting Standard Advisory Board set up by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. She was the member of Compliance Committee of International Federation of Accountants headquartered in New York. Bhavna ma'am was president of the Indian Merchants Chamber and is actively associated with its activities. She, during her presidentship, established IMC Inclusive Innovation Awards to recognize work of the grassroots innovators which meet the criteria of affordable excellence. Indeed, it is a pleasure to have among us such a renowned speaker. With this, I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Bhavna ma'am, and I would like to hand over the session to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joni, Mihir, Pooja, all of you at Surat branch. It's really a pleasure interacting with you all. And as you said, this is a new opportunity that COVID is giving us. So coming to COVID 2019, it's really an unprecedented situation. And the challenge is that it is still continuing, it is still evolving. We find that in some places, again, there are more cases coming up. Some places it is resurfacing, some places it is reducing. So it's continuously changing, and we don't have vaccine as yet. So we really don't know how we are going to deal with it. And it has really impacted all of us significantly. The pressure on physical, social, economic health is tremendous. Now, amidst all of this, we had situation where we had stringent lockdown to now a situation where we have started opening up. So, like any major catastrophe that happens, there is always a change which comes with it. And that change changes the way we were functioning, what was normal for us, and what we then describe it as new normal, the difference that comes in. And that's what we're going to discuss today, the new normal post COVID 2019. And my suggestion would be please feel free to interject any point of time that you would like to. anywhere where you have a question, a view, some experience to share as we all decipher together as to what the new normal is likely to be. And it's a crystal ball grazing. So we are all going to think what it will be like because we really don't know. There are so many uncertainties today, but let's just walk through as to what are the challenges which we are today seeing, and based on those challenges, what are the opportunities for us as professionals? So what will this whole new normal look like? And as professionals, how will we be able to master the challenges and work on the solutions, convert it into opportunities? And as we all know, the, this COVID-19 has changed our lives in many ways. As professionals also, the way we do our work, the way we look around, the way we function, the nature of work that we do, everything has changed. And now as we come back to offices or even work from home, we find that there are several safety measures which we need to continue to take. So the social distancing is a norm, wearing masks is a norm. And with all of that, there is a feeling that we need to restart. We have to learn to live with this disease, this virus, and we can't just shy away from it and say that we will simply shut ourselves in. No economy can afford to do that. The economic activities must go on. And that is where we are now in a situation where we are seeing partial opening up. So the lockdown is being lifted. Some countries did it early on, some countries are doing later. And there are debates and discussions as to which is the right model. Whatever it be, today we are seeing, at least so far as we are concerned, in our country, we are seeing the gradual opening up. So what I would like to discuss today are the changes which are coming because of the COVID impact. And there we are going to look at it in three phases. The one which we saw as it happened immediately. So that was immediately during the lockdown period. Then we are seeing partial lockdown. We do hope that soon the partial lockdown will go away and we'll have complete unlock, which will be, say, a few months period. And then long term, we really don't know. The uncertainties are too much. So we are not able to really foresee in long term what's going to happen. And as we saw even in the past, when we had the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2009, and that was followed by global recession, the impact is still being felt even today after 10, 12 years. So even the COVID impact, the whatever new normal is, it's completely going to change and continuously keep changing, and we don't know what will the long term be. So I also would like to talk a little bit about the impact of the earlier new normal that was post financial crisis. Now, immediately, as you all would recall, as lockdown suddenly started, which was on March 24th, immediately we all had to just get to our homes, had to suddenly shut offices. Some people had envisaged this and had prepared, but many of us professionals were not prepared. So we had our documents in offices, we didn't have access to the data in offices. There were documents which we just could not access. In fact, several people said our checkbooks are there and we are not connected to through the net to our banking system. So we can't make payments. Some of the audits at that time, some large audits had to be completed, which some firms could complete who were well organized, who had the technology support available, and the large businesses. But so far as smaller businesses are concerned, we all struggled. The audit was literally, sort of postponed. medium-sized organizations and some of the comparatively larger medium organizations, there now the first quarter, that is a June quarter audit, is being done. So during that period, particularly that 1 month, we did try to hold conferences through audio video mode. Most of the tax work had come to a complete standstill. Most of the tax department was not working. For the compliances, we had little more time, so the due dates were extended. Consultancy work was also almost at a standstill. So what did we do? We used that time to enrich ourselves. We all attended webinars and interacted with seniors, and I know some of the firms who were organizing meetings with senior people, and then discussing among themselves as to what are how things are going to change. And at that time, of course, it was more of learning. Like for our office also, we had every day a call in the morning for 1.5 hours, where we would connect with all our staff and discuss variety of subjects. It was more for enrichment that we did. And some of us also tried to catch up with our housekeeping. So, organizing files in the system, everything through remote access. And of course, many of us, and we had several discussions with our colleagues as to how do we now plan ourselves, because everyone was seeing that next 3 months, there will be, revenue will be under severe pressure. So what do we do? How do we go about it? And so on and so forth. So that's what we kept on discussing during that strict lockdown. And exactly the same thing was happening at our clients. All our clients were also under severe stress. They also didn't know how to handle it. Some of the large organizations like banks, insurance companies, some of the investment bankers and all, they had in advance organized themselves. So they had, since it was happening globally and they were following the global norms, from January itself, they had started organizing themselves. But so far as the medium-sized and small organizations were concerned, they just couldn't do anything. So they were in the same situation as we were. Most worried. They were most worried about the cash flow and safety and security of their employees. So that's where we were when we had the immediate lockdown. And then we saw that there was some lockdown, unlock, so unlock 1, unlock 2, and so on and so forth. And what did we see changing? What we saw was, of course, the commercial activities commenced, and that was the main aim and objective of government when they started opening up, that while there will be spread, more people will be affected, but the economic activities must start. Without that, the unemployment is so high, will not be able to handle the situation. Although travel restrictions continued, so it was not possible for people to move from one place to another. And so far as our professional firms are concerned, depending on the location, they changed. I don't know, Mayor, what you all did in Surat. At least in Mumbai, it was very mixed. Most of the offices, smaller professional firms are still not working. Medium-sized firms have started working, but again, in Mumbai, the biggest challenge that we face is that the trains are not working. And since the trains are not working, it's not possible for the staff to come. So the staff comes on 1 day or 2 days in a week. Maybe you are on mute. Mihir, you are on mute. Would you like to share how it is in Surat? Yeah.
In Surat, small and medium firms have started their work, but it is very tough because we cannot meet client and discuss their requirements and all. So it is getting tougher day by day.
Oh, okay. So people are going to offices?
Yeah, people have started venturing out. It's
Okay.
getting back to normal, but this normal is different.
It's different, very different, right? So therefore, I think the audits are still continuing remotely. That's
No,
what.
we are unable to get papers right now. So
Oh,
audit work is slightly lagging behind.
but then do you get access to the clients so that clients, what we found was that some of the clients who were not organizing, they were not organized, they were sending data, I mean, copies of their ledger accounts, certificates, then some of them were giving access to their tele data, and that's how the audit started.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. So far as taxation is concerned, again, primarily it is more of compliance work which is going on. For example, I think what I find is that most of the people have been able to complete GST compliances, filing of the returns and doing the reconciliations and all, because that was possible to do remotely. Income tax, of course, we have the time, so people are waiting to compile the data. But the major work which we saw that was happening was in the area of data analytics, which was possible to do from remote location. And the clients had concerns because they had given access to people to work from home. So they were concerned about cybersecurity. And that's where then we saw some attacks as well. Some of the large companies who had the firewalls, who had very strong systems, and so on and so forth. Yet they have also found that there were cyber attacks. So that's where people started getting more worried about. And businesses still continue to grapple with several challenges which are going on. So the same challenges they are also facing, whether they are large businesses or small businesses. In fact, most of the large businesses were finding it extremely difficult to start work. So they were allowing people to work from home. And I remember initial days when had to, there were not enough laptops and desktops available. So what they were doing was from offices, the desktops on which people were working, those desktops were being transported to the residence of the employees so that they could do work. So it was a challenge, and then together with that, schooling from home was going on. So that was another problem which people were facing. That my mobile is with my son, or my desktop, or whatever laptop, and iPad is with the kids. So it was becoming really challenging for people even to work from home. So these challenges are continuing, and of course in Surat you saw huge, I mean, in a sense, downturn because of textile and the diamond industry. That's what we heard. So is that still not functioning or has started?
It's not functioning fully, actually. And due to COVID and the spread of virus, it is still not in full fledged, actually.
But they have been able to start the work because they were continuously requesting.
Uh, s- Textile is allowed to start a work, but it is like 33%, 50% capacity, and even diamond units were shut. And probably in last 15 days, they got some permission from the authorities that you can start, but with certain restrictions, which are
Oh,
practically not possible to follow.
so that's also not much
Yeah.
activity for them. And that's where a lot of people, there is huge movement also that we saw because so many workers left the city, went back to their native places. For them to come back is a challenge. So businesses have huge challenges because some of them who want to start, they are finding that the workers are not able to come back. They're willing to come back, but not able to come back. And that's where we are told that now let's learn to live with COVID. Forget all this lockdown and unlockdown and all that is happening. Let's start again. We have to start, and there will be a new normal. Let's begin again. And that's where Maharashtra government said, mission begin again. That was the sort of slogan they've taken. And with that, what do we see? What do we see the new normal will be like? And when we think of the new normal, the change, the first and foremost change that we see happening around is the digitization. There's going to be a huge digital transformation which is happening. In fact, you will find that so many people, even seniors and others, who would never do any transaction, banking transaction online, have now got so used to it. They're doing those transactions, right? Earlier there were transfers, they will say, I can't do it. I have to write a check and I have to go to the bank and withdraw the money. I can't pay others. Now they've all learned and they're doing so huge digital transformation is happening all over. And another very interesting phenomena which is happening is the global enterprises are becoming virtual. The other day there was an article which said that in San Francisco, huge, more than some 80% of the space is now vacant. The reason, one, of course, the cost is very high of living there. And at the same time, now people can work from anywhere. They don't need to be there. And some of these large enterprises have announced that till next year, that is till at least March, in some cases June 2021, there will not be physical work. So workplace will remain virtual and people will have to work from home. So wherever they are working from, it doesn't matter. So now the enterprises are becoming more virtual enterprises. Digital delivery is becoming very important. And also the digital platforms, like you have the Amazon and Flipkart, are the ones which are becoming the order of the day. As you would have seen, at least in Mumbai, Amazon delivery is phenomenal. When we go home, the number of Amazon packets which are lying near the security, whatever is delivered during the day for the whole complex, are so many. And that just shows the change. People are not wanting to go out, not wanting to go to the store, and they are ordering online. Another significant change which will come about is the intervention by governments. Every government has to ensure that that economy is continuing to at least function, does not die down. So it may not grow because more or less everyone will come to a level. Growth will come in much later. For what us also we are saying that there will be degrowth. And that's where the governments are coming in to support, like we have Atmanirbhar Bharat, the theme that you manufacture locally. We have vocal for local theme. Use locally manufactured goods, give preference to that so that the manufacturing activity gets a spurt. So we have to, every country will do this. But let's look at what can be manufactured locally. Also significant incentives that the government is giving, like there are registrations have started for MSMEs, for credit guarantee. So the support from government, the incentives from government are coming in a big way. Working from anywhere is becoming the norm. We know of so many friends who have left Mumbai and gone away to smaller places nearby. The reason is, I can do the same thing from here. Then why do I live in Mumbai? I'd rather live in that open space and at least go for evening walks or whatever. In Mumbai, it's so difficult to do all of that. So that's where we find that people will move more and more to remote locations. And one of the very different phenomena which we are looking at is we had so far one employer, many employees. So many people working as employees in one organization. The new thing which is now developing is one employee, many employers. So a person will work with more than one organization. Like for us as chartered accountants, we've always been servicing different clients. But when you see consulting work, they will now do more and more for more workers. Like when you're working from home, there are no restrictions that you have to work for a employer. So what you will say is, I will give you 4 hours of my time, and that's what I will do. Thereafter, I may work for second one, third one. I may work 1 day for you, 2 days for somebody else. So that's a new feature which we see is coming up. The manner in which people are engaging with consumers is also changing. And you would have seen that whole social media, the changes that are happening. The uncertainties are continuing. Whichever area you look at, there is huge uncertainty. And as people say, we are living in a VUCA world. It's a world which is very volatile, very uncertain. There are huge complexities and ambiguities. So we have to live in this world and then make a niche for ourselves. So as Winston Churchill said, and I love this, difficulties mastered are opportunities won. For doing that, what do we need? So first of all, we need to understand what are the difficulties, what are the challenges, which we discussed, and all of us are fully aware of the challenges that we see. The question is, how do we identify opportunities in those challenges, and how do we master them? How do we conquer them? And that's what now I will discuss. First of all, very often when we talk this, people ask, how do I go about it practically? It's good to say all these big things, but practically, how do I do it? And my suggestion would be, first of all, think of your clients. For clients or the potential clients whom you are aware of and you know, find out what are the top 3 challenges that they are facing. You may know about it, or you may engage in conversation with them and identify what are the top 3 challenges. You will find that most of them, the topmost challenge is survival. Say, I must survive. मैं जिंदा रहूंगा तो आगे कुछ बढ़ेगा. And I must remain fit. जिंदा भी रहा, if I'm not fit, I'm so much overburdened. I have so much debt which I can't service, or I have employees whom I cannot deal with, then again, I can't really grow. So again, I'll have to die someday or the other. So that's the biggest challenge. But think of it for your clients and identify those challenges. Now, those challenges you contextualize in opportunities. That means, what could be the solutions that you can provide him or her or that client? What are the solutions that you can give him? And once you start thinking about it, you'll find that you can really reinvent things for the client. You can engage with him and suggest some reforms that he needs to take, he or she needs to take, and how to reimagine the whole business in the new world, in the new normal. So, simple way, start by identifying the challenges. The challenges can be converted into opportunities. So first of all, master what are the challenges. Now let's go to the opportunities. Now I have taken some opportunities which I am seeing as for our clients or the companies that I interact with or the boards on which I sit. I have identified a few challenges which the clients are facing and the opportunities. One size does not fit all. So it's not necessary that this one will be relevant for all, but you may pick what you find is relevant in your context. So one of the opportunities which I see, and again the challenge is that several companies are finding that there are travel restrictions, so they can't go around. And since they cannot go out, the verifications cannot happen, whether it's verification of stock and so many areas which are, for example, for an insurance company, we found that they have a lot of checks which get accumulated at different locations. And it's very difficult to find the way in which those checks are deposited or how to educate the customers or the clients to convert into digital and so on. Similarly, there are internal audits which are happening internally. Now, where they are happening internally, what they feel is the chief internal auditor will feel that some work is to be done at a different location. So say, for example, a Mumbai unit or a Mumbai entity has an office in Surat. So they would like some physical verification to be done, some documents to be verified. Now, if you all are in Surat, you may be able to visit that place physically and do it. Whereas for Mumbai, they will not be able to travel. So the new concept which is developing is co-sourcing. Co-sourcing means that you work together with the other team, with the team of the company, and do the work. So all supervision is by the company person. Now, how does one prepare for taking this opportunity or to be able to work on this? Now, again, so what will companies do? They will identify professional firms, the firms whom they feel can provide this service to them, and they will necessarily have dialogue with you, the conversation with that firm to understand what are the skill sets that you have. Do you have the capabilities? Do you understand how to go about it? Will you be able to document the work that you do? Will you be able to give the reports in the forms they require? And they won't mind giving training, supporting you, but you need to be prepared to do all of this and be ready. And they will expect you to take certain responsibilities, certain obligations, and you must set those expectations right. So once you do that, then this is an opportunity which one can really look at. Another similar opportunity we find is outsourcing. And this is happening in a very big way because every company has to look at cost. So if their department, say tax department today had 6 people, they don't want to retain all the 6 people. So what they do is they will try and farm out that work to a professional firm whether it is compliance, and we also saw that they also want some of the little higher, not only pure compliance, but little higher level work. So decision making, supporting others in the organization, that this is a new project coming up, how do we go about it? So the work which was significantly being done internally is now being outsourced. Now, when somebody approaches you for that outsourced work, what do they expect? First of all, of course, you must have the skill sets. And very important, if particularly you are taking up a compliance function, that you have enough number of people available. You have automation. So you have yourself got the software required. You have, if not, at least you have the ability to source that software. You have good internet connectivity. Your people are familiar with the software or the systems. You will be able to develop dashboards which will be available to them very often online. And of course, you will, they will like to set all sorts of protocols as to who is the contact person, what if there is a delay, if you don't do things in time, if you come across challenging situation, there is a delay, are you reporting in time, so on and so forth, and of course service level agreements. So a friend was recently mentioning that earlier what used to happen, return file kar rahe hain, or some form they are filling, let it go, at least fill it up, we'll see at the time of assessment or we'll see it later. Gone are those days. Now with significant automation, all that will have to be reviewed early on, because if any error goes, there will be penalties which are automatic, fines are automatic, and the clients will come back and say this was your fault. You delayed it, you didn't do it properly. Now, therefore, this is something which we will not accept. And that's where one will have to be extremely, extremely careful. In fact, when we file tax returns for the clients, it's outsourcing, right? The client really tells you that you do my tax work, so file my tax return. Here are the details. But you will now need to document the information that the client provided, the information that you sought for, and how you prepared the return. So, good opportunity for outsourcing, and some of the data that is to be processed, which requires a little high level skill. So not something which can be done at a very base level, but at a little higher level. That is also coming up. Now, there are several other opportunities. One of the other significant opportunity which I find is where people, now, as we spoke, the talent is now moving. It's all across. So you need not be sitting you need not be in Surat. Somebody can service the client sitting from somewhere in Uttar Pradesh or somewhere, say maybe in Indore, MP, and will start servicing your client. So therefore, now it's very critical for you also to make sure that because of this virtual world and ability of people to work from anywhere, you also need to be very particular about things. And if your work involves depending on employees, employee engagement is one of the key factors. For companies, it's a huge issue. And that is where, again, it's an opportunity because every company would like to be the best place to work. They want the employees and the best of the employees, best of the talent to attract them and work with them. And for that, because of this whole world becoming one, you can have somebody sitting in Moscow doing some work for you, which you would never have ever imagined. But then as a result, for a company, the talent pool available is from across the world. So it's a challenge for us, but an opportunity also as to how can we service so many people who are outside, who were not available to us for servicing. One of the areas which companies are looking at is the compensation restructuring. So as you know, when we were working from offices, a certain pay package was drawn up and there was some allowance, say rent allowance, conveyance allowance, something tax exempt, something taxable, and on the basis of which the tax was worked out. Now what we people are finding is that you're working from home. How does company give you conveyance allowance? Difficult. You're not going to office. Another situation. You had rented apartment. Now many of them have given up rented apartments and they've moved to their native places or outside with their parents. No longer are they living in the cities where the cost is very high. Now when you're not paying rent, how do you get house rent allowance? So the companies are asking that how do we now structure? At the same time, we find that several companies have started paying allowance for work from home. You must have read the other day, I think Google or one of the large one is paying $1,000 a month to every employee for work from home. Now, the allowance, if you get, say here, some company starts paying, the allowance that the individual gets, how would it be taxable? Would it be taxable? Would it be tax-free? If it is taxable, under which head? Can that person say that it's my rental, house rent, so property income, it's towards my rent, or because I'm using my space together with my furniture and whatever, so it should be income from other sources. If it is so, the employee will say, can I then claim the expenditure towards my internet connection, electricity connection, etc., etc. So because it's like it's a service center sort of thing. So a lot of such questions will come up if it goes into other sources. Then will GST apply because it's a supply of service? So these are the questions which now companies are asking. How do we work out the compensation structure and what will be the new tax incidence when we are restructuring it. And of course, it's extremely important to sort of keep them engaged. Employee engagement is a very big area. We are hearing so much about mental health issues, and that's where companies are trying to engage their employees with variety of programs that they are holding on the net. In fact, some of the companies where I serve as director, they held competitions and antakshari and got the families involved. So keep them engaged, keep them occupied, keep them happy, because when you're working from home and you don't meet anybody, it's a very difficult situation. In fact, people are longing. When we ask few people, say we are longing to go back to office. I don't want to stay at home. Want to go back and work in the office, meet people, chat with them. Even if I have to maintain that social distance, doesn't matter. And sit across the table for lunch, but want to go back to office. But till that time, people will have to do all of this. So that's one opportunity coming up. Even if an organization has 5 people, 6 people, they will need to work with them to help them tide over this difficult time. And then you have another very major area which keeps coming up is review of contracts. What we found was that every organization is looking at cutting cost. How do I cut the cost? And the first area which people started with was rent. That the premises for which I'm paying rent, can I straight away ask for 50%? Some said I will pay because the office is shut. Then they were told, no, but your equipments are there, things are there, so you can't say not pay, but 50%, and then negotiations are going on. And also so many contracts which now people don't want to go ahead with because their business is not there. So we are looking at force majeure, whether there is a force majeure clause, how will that clause apply? Will it work? Will it not work? Can I make a claim? Can I not make a claim? And this is a major exercise which is going on, and I believe it applies to everybody, whether a business is small or a business is big. Is that an issue also in Surat or nearby areas? Rent negotiations and so on. Yeah, Hitesh would like to. Yeah, can you unmute Hitesh? He would like to say something. Yeah, Hitesh, are you unmuted?
I have asked to unmute, yeah. Hello?
Yeah, Hitesh. Can't hear you. We can't hear him. Is he unmuted?
Yeah, he is unmuted actually, but don't know, some issue must be there from his side.
Okay. Hitesh, would you just like to put it on the screen so we can answer, because we can't hear you, or whenever you can. So, and one of the other major area which we find is coming up is that businesses now had opportunity in between for taking advantage of moratorium. So several businesses did not pay the installments because they got moratorium. Then they realized that no, but interest continues. It's only that we have got the time. Initial feeling was that perhaps my interest during this period will also be waived, which was not done. So now what they have is the installments continuing, except that they have been restructured. So what we found was that some of the medium-sized businesses, then they did the exercise. Am I better off paying or not paying? And that's where chartered accountants really help in doing that entire working exercise. What do you expect your cash flow to be? And initial 2 months, people were extremely concerned about cash flow, liquidity. that in case I don't have money to even pay wages, what will I do? So they took benefit of the installments moratorium. Now people have started paying up, but this is one area which people will have to look at. Restructuring option is also now available. So that's another area where we can help businesses. Risk management is another area which many medium and small businesses never systematically thought through. They were looking at it, but never very systematically. Well, that in their mind, they know, okay, there's a risk and this is how I will deal with it, which the promoter or the owner will say. But now they will have to systematically think as to what are the risks going forward and how they can deal with those risks. Another major area of opportunity which we see coming up is this government schemes. There are several incentives, several subsidies which are coming up, and how can one take advantage of that? What benefits will be available? And cash flow management, of course, is a very, very challenging area for everybody, where again, us, we professionals can help businesses to plan, so the revenue, the expenditure, and so on, which was otherwise done by businesses, but not in a very systematic manner. The larger businesses are looking at also the crisis management. How do we manage this crisis? Next 3 months, next 6 months, how are we going to deal with it? What will we do? So on and so forth. Another very interesting area that we saw has where the interest has accelerated, the business continuity. And there what we found was one of the areas which was always at the back of mind of the promoter and the owner of succession planning, but people were not talking about it so much. Of late, post-COVID, we found that this has really become one of the topmost agenda for most of the businesses, promoters, owners, as to how do we plan for succession. Also within the family, how do I plan succession? So who will take over my business? Who will get other business? And how do I share businesses between my family members? Some people are staying abroad, some people are in India. So how do I take care of FEMA if I want to give something to my daughter who's settled, say, in US? How do I do it? Because otherwise daughters have equal rights. So now sons are also pushing fathers, that parents, that please look at this and start working on this, because you really want to give sister half share or 1/3 share of the business, and then how will we all get along? How will we work? So please plan right now. And that's what is really picking up. And it's a huge exercise, takes a lot of time, because it's very sensitive area. There are sentiments, and one has to really go very carefully, very cautiously, have empathy for everybody. It's taking time, but it's coming up. And this could be of relevance to you all also in Surat, where every other businessman would be thinking about it, looking at it, the properties, so on. A lot of assets, how to deal with it. Restructuring is another area which we see where there is a lot of interest. Now, restructuring is happening because people are unable to pay the debts, or they feel that the business which they were engaged in is no longer remaining profitable. And maybe you do a review and you feel that this is not the business which will be worthwhile in next 5 years. It may not get traction, there may not be much demand, would be good to get out of it or restructure. So that's another area which is coming up. Some of the businesses with a view to generate revenue have started looking at divesting. So either selling off the businesses completely, and which is an area where we as professionals can really help them a lot, because it requires valuation, it requires sometimes segregation. Some of the personal assets are in business, so getting the personal assets out of the business and keeping the business assets there. There may be debts, and you may find that there will be no taker if there is so much debt which is left in the business. So some debt may have to be moved. So a lot of work around this whole divestment and sale of business. At the same time, there are people who have liquidity and looking at acquisitions. This is what had happened post the 2007-8 financial crisis. That's happening today also. There are several businesses who are hugely stressed, and people with liquidity are now looking at acquiring those because they believe that today they will be able to get those assets at a fairly reasonable valuation. So that's another activity which has started and which will start picking up greater pace as we go along. And of course, there are investments. People are trying to look at investments, so they have to get investments in. Some are, of course, making investment outside as well, but primarily people are looking at investment coming in. And again, there are number of issues which arise where we can help those businesses as to how do they structure themselves, what are the FEMA implications, what will be the income tax implication, what should be the structure in which the investment should come. Can it come in LLP, or should it be in a company being with a lower tax rate more attractive than LLP? But LLP has its own other advantages. Should it be a single person company? So number of aspects which are coming up here also when we talk of investments. Of course, these are all happening at different levels. So there are large ones which are happening, medium one, and the smaller ones. I'm focusing on the medium and small ones for our today's discussion, keeping in mind the audience. Now, if I come to the earlier new normal, which was post the financial crisis, we are still continuing with it. So as I said at the beginning, the impact of that crisis and the steps that were taken following that crisis are still continuing, and some of the effect we are seeing even today. So what was that? That was really a financial crisis. It was the collapse of the financial institutions. We saw collapse of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns because of the housing bubble that happened. But then it had the whole world impacted because of the global connectivity, which is what we see even today. Because of the global connectivity and the virus affecting the world as a whole, there is a huge global pandemic which we are seeing. Now, at that time, what did we see? We saw that every bank was invested in another country. So there was so much investment which had gone from one country to another. And each of the country then needed funds because they had to support the local population, the local businesses. So again, we started moving backwards from globalization to regionalization, and over a period of time, we have said, look at localization. There was G20, earlier we had G7, which was the large economies of the world. They expanded, brought in other countries. So we had this G20, 20 economies. India became part of that 20 economies. And then the OECD took up this project of base erosion and profit shift. One of the reasons was that the economies were under stress. They needed more money to support their people. Now that more money came in primarily from tax, because major revenue for every government is taxation. So, and then every country started looking at it, that am I getting my due share of the business that the global giants are doing here, or is it that they are all taking away money to other countries? And that is where we had this BEPS project as to how the revenue which is being shifted from one country to another should be brought into, and every country should be able to get their relevant dues, tax dues, which legitimately belong to them. Following this, we saw several multilateral treaties which were signed, because going on all this bilateral was becoming quite a challenge. So we had these multilateral treaties, and that brought in huge tax transparency. So because of that tax transparency and the information exchange agreements which happened, and several countries signed it. So now we have significant tax transparency. And as we will see even now, what we see is, particularly after GST, you would have read reports that now the data which GST has and the data which the income tax department has will all be correlated. And once that data is correlated, a lot of additional data and information will be available with the tax department, and that will ensure that the larger tax revenues are collected. And if there are any areas where there are mismatches, those would be caught early on, and it will be done by the system. So earlier what people used to say is, this is a small transaction, who's ever going to notice? Mine is not big. The tax department is going to catch crores of rupees transactions. No longer, because now it's being done by machine. And when it is being done by machine, whether it's a small transaction or big transaction, doesn't matter. Everything will be caught. Now, how much bandwidth they have, how much wherewithal they have to go after smaller transactions, we don't know. But if that small transaction is part of a larger chain of transactions, there will be inquiry, and there could be consequences. So that's another fallout of this whole change of the earlier new normal. Another major aspect that we see is, of course, some of this may not be very relevant from your perspective, but we see that now tax havens are being looked at and scrutinized in very, very detail. They have to give information, which most of them are providing. And if you are dealing with a country which is considered to be not so, or say, tax-friendly jurisdiction, many more inquiries are being done that your transaction is a genuine transaction, it is commercial substance, commercial justification, has not been undertaken purely with a view to take the tax advantage. So everywhere they want to ensure that there is no paper transactions which are happening. And that's where a lot of documentation and a lot of work is required. Regulatory scrutiny has increased significantly. Every country wants to be known as the best from the perspective of doing business, that doing business in our country is easiest, paying taxes is easiest. And as you would have heard our Prime Minister, that India is also now striving to move ahead in that ease of paying taxes aspect. And that's where now we have this whole recent introduction of faceless assessment and appeals. Many of you may have read about it, but this is going to change completely our practice. Many of us, in particularly when I used to travel to the smaller towns and cities, significant part of our work was attending to the assessments and attending to the appeals. So you physically go there, have the meeting, discussion, discuss with the officer, and now suddenly we are told that it's going to be faceless. Earlier we had this situation where it was through emails. It had changed over to emails where we were sending responses, but we had the option of saying that, no, I want a personal hearing. So we could go for the personal hearing, we could explain. But now it will be completely faceless, and you will have like your mini sites. So you go to your page on the income tax site where you will post data, the officer will read the data, and he will analyze. And of course, you all might have had a chance to discuss this whole faceless assessment. That's not my topic today. But how it will happen, there will be a initial assessment, there will be technical review, there will be a further review, and so on and so forth. So internally, a lot of work will happen, and you'll also have to be really prepared for it. It's completely new, and we'll all have to learn how to cope up with it, which also means that anyone sitting anywhere will be able to handle that assessment. Earlier, we used to have local. So if you are, say, sitting in Surat, the client will come to you because he knows that for the assessment, you will go to the tax office and you will attend to the assessment. Now, he need not necessarily come to you. It's all faceless, it's all electronic. Anyone sitting anywhere will do that work. And that's going to bring about a huge change for us and the practice that we do. So what it means for us? First of all, of course, considering all these changes which are taking place, we need to have a very robust client acceptance process. Many of us in small and medium practices very often don't do this, but we need to do that now and document, because somewhere along the line, if we find that there are challenges for the client, we will need to be prepared to face it. And therefore, it's very essential that we do this exercise. We'll have to be extremely, extremely cautious about the quality of work we do. If, as I was explaining earlier, if we delay doing some work, filing return, or if some compliance is done little casually where issues come up, we will need to be prepared to answer that. That no, we had applied all checks, all whatever we could do, and we had done best work. If the officer has taken a different view, it's different. Or that the IT system was not working, or the GST network was down, and that was the reason I could not file the return. One will have to keep documenting all of that and keep evidence of that. The review at early stages will become extremely, extremely important, and we'll have to pay a lot of attention at that stage. Everything happens electronically, so the tendency is quickly, yes, let it go, it's all fine. But one would have to get used to seeing it online, reviewing it, critically reviewing it before anything goes for filing. Reconciliations and cross have to start our work early. We'll have to inform the clients that all this exercise will have to be done. So therefore, you will need time. And this is where we have to learn from the Western counterparts, the professionals. If they have, what they do is they work out plan their work schedule much in advance, and they tell the client that this is 1 week which I have kept for your work. I will need this data, this information. We have to be much more systematic, and clients will also learn that this is what I need, and if this is ready during this week, I will do the work. So ensure that the relevant person is available, information is available. And if that is not available, they say that then I cannot help it. I will take you off that week and put you in a later week because my weeks are tighter, full. And if that results in a client requiring to pay some additional fines, etc., the client will have to be prepared for it. And we need to educate the clients that this is how it will work, because a lot of additional work, verification, reconciliations is required. And if that is not done in time, it's a client who will suffer because he will have the challenges of subsequently explaining or facing disallowances or additions or fines or penalties and so on. And everything will have to be looked at. So that's what I see the recent changes meaning for us. So I suggest all of you, please keep safe, please take care, and whatever work you are doing, continue to do, but sit back, think through, and see out of whatever I've spoken, I've tried to look at it from a medium size, small size practices, medium size, small size businesses. For large ones, the challenges are very different, but do apply your mind, think through, and see how best you can take advantage of the opportunities that the new world, the new normal, the new challenges are coming up post-COVID. Happy to take questions if you have any.
I request all the participants, if they have any questions, can unmute themselves.
The facility is available for participant to unmute on their own?
Yeah, I'll mute all.
Okay. If somebody wants to write also, it's fine.
Now one can unmute themselves if they have any questions. I think no more questions, ma'am. The session was understood thoroughly. None of the participants have raised any hand. One question from my end. Looking at the current scenario, how would you foresee the coming time? Because now there are no deadlines and deadlines would come in near future. How to plan the milestones and how to complete their work? Ma'am, you need to unmute yourself. I think you have been muted. I'll do that.
Yeah. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, ma'am. Now you are.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So what happens is in this. Sorry, somebody. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Please. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought someone else was speaking. So yeah, there are, in a sense, there are deadlines. In a sense, there are no deadlines because we really don't know when finally the corona effect will reduce, when the departments, particularly for us, the tax departments will start working and they will start issuing notices for assessment. We have seen some of the notices, very nicely worded letter coming from the tax department, that you have this one matter where we have a query. Please reply. It will, we would like to take away one of the stresses from you in this stress time. So please reply. It's a very nicely worded letter, and then people have started replying. So that has started, but not all. As such, still government is also going slow because they don't want to put pressure on people. As it is, people are under so much stress, and government wants really the businesses to start functioning, start operating. And what we found was that businesses are still finding it very challenging to run because either the people are not there. Secondly, the number of restrictions they have the care that they have to take. And if suddenly even one case is found positive, that whole department, that whole division needs to be shut down. So that is causing a lot of challenge for businesses. Also, suddenly some area will go into lockdown. When it goes into lockdown, their whole supply chain gets affected. And if we look at the larger businesses, their supply chain, again, that's another area where, but that's for larger businesses, the whole supply chain, the entire reconfiguration of the supply chain, the distribution chain, because of this whole change to digital world.
Thank you, ma'am. And if any other participant have their questions.
Johnny bhai, yes. Ma'am, whole scenario of practice for small and medium practitioner has changed drastically, actually.
Yes.
Because the scenario is we have physical interaction with clients. We used to go to the offices of the clients. So many things, many folds, we are supposed to work from home or either in isolated areas or isolated offices. So what would be the better checklist to plan properly practice setup in this scenario?
So, yeah. Johnny, also, you also wanted to add something, Johnny? You're mute.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a challenge where we have to, as I said, we have to reinvent the way we do our work, reorganize ourselves the way we do, because looks like next 3 months still it will be very difficult to go to the client location and do the work. So what we found, at least in Mumbai now, people are looking at, though of course some of them are insisting that we want to see the physical documents. In that case, the clients are preparing the files and sending them, because now at least the delivery mechanism has started. So they are sending it to the auditor or the tax advisor. So they are doing it that way. But still, it's very, very difficult because you are not able to converse with them. So then that's where people have these apps, different apps through which they are connecting and working. But the challenge still remains because you have your staff is working from a different location, you are working from a different location, and then you have to interact. So what we found practically some people doing is, even like, one of our friends, a chartered accountant, now he says that he has a comorbidity. So therefore, he is extremely worried that he cannot come in contact with his staff. So though he goes to office, he sits in an isolated cabin and his staff is sitting outside. So he calls only one staff a day. Different people come on different day and he plans out his work that today I'm going to do this work, tomorrow this work. So that's how they are working out. And then from his cabin, then he's talking on phone, but at least you can see each other's faces, so you get the expression, whether it is understood, not understood, how he's working, because he says, I can't be continuously exposed. Once in a day, it's okay, we talk, but not all the time. So we have to really learn to do audit significantly online. And that is where, as I was telling, data analytics becomes extremely important. We have to find a way. So if a client gives data in Tally, you will have to find a way of running the analysis and finding odd ones out. And that's where perhaps, as a branch, you could organize some programs on this data analytics. How do you do data analytics so that your work is more focused?
Yes, ma'am. Right. Any other questions any participants have? If any queries you want to ask to Bhavna ma'am?
Or give some suggestions?
You have raised your hand.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Pooja.
I just want to ask one question that due to this COVID and all the situation, many of the chartered accountants who are doing job are facing fees cut or salary cut issue. So, and the expenses on the other hand are the same. Like they are facing the EMIs or they are facing the house expenses and everything. So, how to tackle such?
True. It's a challenge because see, when you have salary cut, you can't really uh, afford to. I mean, the organization has challenge, so they have cut the salary. When the salary is cut and you have the EMIs to pay, it's a big burden. So, as one of the suggestions which I had was for, of course, to help business, but which people will need to do their own analysis whether they could find a way of taking deferment of EMIs. Interest, of course, is building up, but they will need to think about it and see how best they can find a way. But otherwise, whether they could use some of their savings at least for some time, next 2 to 3 months, because what we hear businesses are saying is that this salary cut is temporary. Soon we will move to the full salary as economic activity starts, but it may or may not happen. We really don't know. Another option is, of course, as we say, to take on extra, because when the employer has cut the salary, he won't mind if you do some work on the side. Now that work also sometimes becomes very difficult. In fact, one of the fallout which I mentioned in passing is that now the whole work is going to be realigned, which is what all of us as professionals need to be aware of. The work will move. It will move across. So as I was mentioning, your tax assessment, your client may find someone sitting somewhere else. He may not necessarily come to you because he has the ability of doing it online. He might appoint somebody else sitting somewhere else to do the tax assessment, tax filing, because all that is now to be done electronically. And that's what we have to really prepare ourselves for and start thinking about the new opportunities that we will encash. And that's where I talked about so many things that start preparing, thinking about them. Now, we may not have done it. But as you said, the person who's got that job, perhaps he or she has never thought that I may have this challenge and I'll have this revenue stress. So immediately, maybe some 3 months, 6 months, person will have to tide over. But long term, one will have to think, because there is going to be a huge unemployment. Several businesses will have to cut jobs if they don't get revenue, because how long can they survive? Then it's a question of survival. So if they have 100 employees, they may have to cut down and come to 60. So those 40 employees are going to be left jobless. And that's where people will have to start thinking of doing other things. How do and learn yourself. A lot of things have to be learned and people learn. It's just that you have to put your mind and soul to it, that this is new area which I have to start working on. And that's where I will move over a period of time so that I'm not stressed when the work shifts, changes. Work is not going away. Our traditional area work is going to remain, the audit, the tax, all of that, whether you are in employment, whether you are in profession, all consultancy, all of that is going to remain. But that's going to change. The nature of work is going to change. The place from where it is being done is going to change. Who does it is going to change. So you may have a client for whom you are doing work for 20 years. Not necessary that he will continue with you. There can be a change. The new generation comes in and the new generation is much more tech savvy. So he says, fine, now I'll look for somebody else, which can happen. And we'll all need to be prepared for it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, we wish that you continue and join with us, continue with us. Friends, we have one more opportunity we got today. As due to COVID only, I must say that we have our young, dynamic, energetic and enthusiastic chairman of WRC, Lalit Bajaj sir, has joined us from Mumbai. So it is again possible due to COVID. that he has joined online. Welcome, sir, Lalit sir, and I would request you to unmute yourself and share a few words with our members, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, it's a pleasure hearing Bhavna madam because we get to learn a lot from her. I just heard for last 5-6 minutes about what madam was enlightening on a couple of issues, and I think so those are very uh, relevant facts as we all should be aware about because lot many dynamics are supposed to be changed in near future. Um, uh, I am getting this opportunity this year to visit Surat branch virtually for the first time, and I would like to thank Chairman Ishwar Jivani, Naveen Jain, Pooja Murarka, Rahul Agarwal, Arun Narang, Mihir Thakkar, Pradeep Kabra, and all the participants who have joined today's webinar for giving me this opportunity. And I look forward that Surat branch continues with its wonderful activities and a very innovative way of conducting various webinars, wherein I think so all the members are really getting benefit of the same. So I congratulate Surat branch for taking all these initiatives even this time of pandemic, firstly. And secondly, I would like to congratulate the young speakers of Surat branch, namely Anish Goyal, Sunay Jariwala, Vinita Maheshwari, Mukund Chauhan, Gopal Dhakkan, Pradeep Kabra, for agreeing and accepting to be part of the initiative of panel of young speakers, wherein we have shared the list of young speakers with all the branches so that we can really move ahead with the initiative of creating a next generation of pool of speakers. And thirdly, I would congratulate the Surat branch for participating in the research initiative which WIRC has taken and submitting couple of research papers for the benefit of members at large. There are a lot many things which WIRC have been doing in last this 6 months because most this is the week wherein most of us office bearers at branches and office bearers at regional council are completing half of the year. And let me share with all of you that this half year we have completed in a total lockdown scenario, in a pandemic scenario wherein we were not able to meet physically. But let me applaud through our forum today to all the branches, all the regional councils, and especially Surat for really moving ahead and ensuring that we can do our best for the benefit of members and students, even in these tasting times. Like I told you that when I think of a most popular personality in ICI, the one name which comes to my mind is our Central Council member Jay Chaira, who is from Surat city. He has been very kind enough to help WIRC, and I'm really I would like to just share with you that you all are really fortunate to have such a CCM from your own city who is always available for not only for the members of Surat, but for the members of the whole ICI. Um, and my colleague in the council, Balkishan Agarwal, again, who is from Surat, who has been always helpful at regional council, at our regional council. I would just like to acknowledge the efforts put in by the leaders at your local level, at regional council and at central council. With this moving ahead, there are a lot many initiatives we have taken at WIRC. I would not list out all the initiatives which we have taken, but I would like to just impress upon couple of initiatives which I feel that members of Surat branch can really take benefit of the same. Likewise, we have come out with various publications which I feel which is useful for all the members who are into practice or industry and who are serving their clients. Key Audit Matters is one of the very significant publication useful for all of us. Disclosure related to COVID-19, work from home. Then again, we have just come out with a reference manual on GST audit and GST returns. One more outbit topic which we all are not really practicing into, but some of us are really practicing into it, is MLI, multilateral instruments. So if anyone is there into international taxation, he can really refer that publication, will be very much useful. We have started with a help desk initiative at WIRC, wherein ongoing help desk is there on WIRC website. And secondly, we have a help desk, live help desk once in a week, wherein members or student can come live and share their issue or concern. And the office bearers at WIRC and officials of ICI will be available to reply and address those issues. So there are a lot many things, but without taking much of the time on initiatives taken at WIRC, I would like to share some of my thoughts which I feel that branch can really take it ahead while planning their activities for the benefit of members and students, if they think those are suitable to the members and students of Surat branch. Just to share with you, branch has a lot many activities to be done, and one of the activities is conducting virtual CPE meetings. And I think so we are at Surat branch are very dynamic while deciding the topics of our virtual meetings, of our sessions. But I would like to just share that if you can just roll around some of the subjects which are related to technology, ABCD concept, artificial intelligence, data analytics. I think so this is one of the things which as of now is very relevant, either to serve the existing clients which we are working for, or at the same time creating opportunity and providing a level playing field for all our professional brothers and sisters. So this is one of the area. One thing which I feel is most of us are really not feeling that much confident when we move ahead with our representation services, either with income tax or with GST or with NCLT or any other department, whether it is against the appellate authority or any of the assessment authority. So I believe that if the branch can really take initiative to sharpen the skills of your members on this front, I think so we will really enrich and enable them to create a new sphere of practice wherein instead of moving to an expert on the subject or a senior practitioner, we the youngsters and the members can themselves move ahead and represent their clients against various authorities. One more thing which comes to my mind is there are some of the topics which are not so popular among all of us, but those are popular among a group of chartered accountants. So please move ahead with those topics also, so that we can give a 360-degree awareness among all our members. One thing which I feel that branch can really take a lead, means you have already been doing this since years, but if you can just initiate it in a more efficient way, because technology, we have started using technology in all our activities. And when we talk about our career counseling initiative at ICI and at WIRC, I think so Surat branch in itself has somewhere around 5,500 plus members and around 20,000 students who are pursuing chartered accountancy course. And I think so equal or more of the students will be looking forward to join chartered accountancy course, but might be they are not equally updated about the course curriculum or the information. I would request the branch to take career counseling activity aggressively among all the schools and colleges, because virtually we are able to counsel lot many students, number of students at a time. So please take this initiative ahead and ensure that our course reaches to each and every student in college, uh, and can be updated about the CA course. I will just share with you that we have a career counseling help desk at WIRC that is available on WIRC website. So as and when you have a career counseling session, we can announce that we have a career counseling help desk, and a student who needs further clarification can reach out to us at the help desk and we will help them about the CA curriculum. One thing which I look foremost from the branch as of now is, see, we have seen that lot many youngsters are coming into profession since last many years, and this will continue for the future years also. So somewhere or the other, we are coming across lot many instances wherein either the younger member is not updated about the various provisions of the ethical practice, or is not properly mentored as to how he has to carry his practice to be uh, to get a proper engine and a growth engine for his future. I think so. Mentorship is one of the initiative wherein our seniors in the profession can really mentor the juniors and the young professionals to drive their practice ahead, and at the same time to conduct a ethical practice. So I think so this initiative can be taken by branch wherein you can request your seniors to accept the responsibility of mentoring couple of youngsters chartered accountants in say a year's time. If you can if you get a consent from 25 to 30 seniors, and if we can really mentor 50 to 100 youngsters in a year, I think so that will be one of the biggest tasks with the branch for the benefit of your younger members. I think so that is one of the purpose for which we are working at ICI. Let me share with you that as far as this lockdown is concerned and the demography has changed, we at our individual offices are facing lot many dynamic scenario as far as conducting the and providing the services to the client is concerned, and at the same time managing our human resources concerned. Might be some of the employees have left for their villages and are not available to complete the tasks which are ongoing at your offices. Some of the offices are really facing the strain of equipping themselves with the relevant number of workforce in their office. If the branch can take an initiative and tie up with a college in your branch in your Surat city, wherein they can really if a student undergoes training in a chartered accountant office, the college can give him a certificate that he has undergone a training in a CA office, and once he completes or after a periodical time, he can really get a proper job in a company or a CA office with a good salary package. So I think so this is a win-win situation for all. One thing is for college, one thing is for a chartered accountant office, and third is for the student who is looking for a better career. So I think so this is one of the initiative which branch can take and tie up with the college for and ensure that we get a number of resources for our office. And at the same time we are regularly hunting for newer opportunities for all of our members. I think so try to engage more with your local bodies and local authorities. I think so there are a lot many opportunities wherein we as chartered accountants, we as institute are not able to penetrate much. Try to be engaged with them and ensure that whatever best we can garner for our chartered accountant fraternity, we can do that. This was the limited thoughts which I have to share with you as of now. There are a lot many things running in my mind, but I understand that you had a session for say couple of hours with Bhavna Ben, and post that I have interfered and come in between to interact with you. But I believe that I thought so this is an opportunity to have a word with you, and I look forward for more and more interaction sessions with you. And as and when I will get opportunity to physically visit Surat branch, I will be fortunate to physically visit and meet all of you personally. Thanks once again for giving me this opportunity, and I wish the Surat branch to have a very dynamic and a wonderful year for the rest of the 6 months and for the ensuring period. And once again, thank you, Bhavna Ben, for being with us and enlightening us at WIRC at any point of time. Please keep us blessing, ma'am, for all our initiatives at WIRC. Thank you.
Pleasure. And what you mentioned is very relevant for the members, particularly mentorship. And that's where, if that can be organized, it will help young members a lot. Because in public platform, they find it very difficult to talk. But when personally they meet, how do they develop their practice? Very relevant.
True, true. Yeah.
All the best for lovely lot of initiatives that you all are taking.
Thank you so much, Lalit sir, for enlightening us and sharing your vision
May I
and
exit now,
facts.
Chairman?
Ma'am, one moment, please. I would request Joni Jain to propose formal vote of thanks. Ma'am, it is our feelings we want to convey to you, actually.
Thank you.
I would request Joni Bhai to unmute himself.
Thank you, Mir Bhai. Thank you, Lalit sir, for his insights which he has given about the work done at WIRC. And I would like to thank Bhavna madam for sharing her views during the new normal which we are facing, and what one should do to come out of this and start his business, dealings with client, documentation, regarding everything. In fact, she touched upon technology. Ma'am, we would be very thankful for your time which you have given, and we would look forward to see you in few more sessions during these COVID times. I don't know when it will end, but at least we should gain from that end. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Lalit sir. Thank you, Mir Bhai, and all my colleagues. Thank you, sir.
So thank you all the participants. It was a pleasure.
Same here, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.